board. We'll talk all things digestion today. And honestly, this topic is one that we could probably talk about for a long time because there's just so much to cover kind of, but I'm going to go through I'm going to go through just the basics today. And then if you guys have any questions, we can kind of go through those too. And also, the gut is so complex and we're learning more about it every day. So, I have some knowledge that I will share, but also I'm not an expert on gut health. And so, if you guys have a question, I don't know the answer, I can definitely research it more. And this is a topic that I am excited to discuss. But yeah, it's complex. For sure, especially when we get into like our microbiome and all of those things. So we'll go through the basics and just kind of talk through really like the most common issues that we'll see and then go from there. So if you guys have questions, just put them in the chat. I will just be talking and I'll just kind of look down and see if I have questions. Oops. Let me pull up my notes here. Okay, so normal digestion. And then also I do want to make a note because I think a lot of our clients feel like, oh, what are they asking when we're asking you guys on your weekly check-ins, like how your digestion is. I think a lot of you are like, I don't think she wants to know details, does she? That's maybe too much information. And it's definitely not. Our digestion will tell us a lot. Oops, am I echoing? Okay, no, I'm not. Our digestion will tell us a lot about what's going on with you. And so it's really good for you to be detailed with that. And then also I think it's good to just have that awareness because I think a lot of us it's something we don't really pay attention to. And then once you have that awareness, you might start to notice trends that are happening or patterns, and that can help. So yeah. What does she want to know? So we probably should send that out like in our intro papers, what we do want to know. But most of you after the first conversation are like, oh, okay. So normal digestion. What is normal digestion? So you should be having a bowel movement every day, and they should be solid, easy to pass. This is like the grossest terminology, but like log forms. There's actually a sheet too on like what your poop should look like and what it can mean. I should send that out. Maybe you guys, and then you could even use that. You can just like use that as like, that's what I'm having, and just whatever the number is. And that can give us guidance too. So you don't have to be descriptive. So I'll make a note to do that. But signs that things maybe aren't going normal or aren't optimal are going to be bloating, gas, cramping. Those are signs your body's not tolerating food well as like constipation or really loose stools, diarrhea. All of those things are going to be things that you should be aware of and notice and see if it's just like a one-time thing, something you ate that didn't sit well, whatever. There's a million reasons for kind of one-time issues. Or is it a pattern and something that we should be looking into more? So I'm going to go through tips, and these are kind of like the baseline tips of doing all these. And then if you're still having issues, we'll look at something further. So sort of like your nutrition, if you want to go into a fat loss phase, but you're not paying attention to your calorie intake, or getting adequate sleep or any of those things, then you're probably not going to benefit from adding in a special protein powder or supplement, right? So these are kind of the baseline tips on how to optimize your digestion from a diet and lifestyle standpoint. So we'll start with fiber intake. So aiming for 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories is just a good like starting rule of thumb. When I eat 2,000 calories, I feel great, really up to so that would be 30 grams of fiber. I always shoot for at least 35. Everyone's going to be a little different there, but generally speaking, that's like a good baseline. And then if you do better with more, that might, even more so help your digestion. But sometimes, you know, if you, let's say, are eating 2000 calories and you are eating like 60 grams of fiber, you might feel terrible. And that could be why. Or if you're only eating 10 grams of fiber, then that's definitely going to make it so your digestion is a lot slower. So that's something to look into also. And then, yeah, on the iron supplements for sure. Yeah, what you eat can definitely, like if you eat beets, I'm sure everyone's had that once where they were scared what's going on. I think my dad went to the doctor for that actually. He thought he was having serious issues. Really funny. So chewing your food thoroughly is going to be the next most important thing. Enzymes in your saliva are what break down the food into smaller particles. So your enzymes aren't able to break down the food if you're just chewing your food really quickly. And also eating slowly minimizes the air that you're going to swallow, which if you're swallowing a bunch of air when you're eating, then that's going to definitely contribute to gas and bloating. And swallowing your food too quickly can cause the larger particles to sit in your GI tract. So undigested food that sits in the GI tract for too long is going to cause bloating, irritation, gas. And that's one of the many reasons why we should have a daily bowel movement, like why that's important, because we're going to have undigested food, that's a hard word to say, in our GI tract. So 20 to 30 chews per mouthful, that sounds like so many. But if you are having issues, then I would definitely recommend trying that. Like sit down and count out how many times you chew your food. It should be a paste when you swallow it, because that's going to save your digestive tract, your digestive system from having to break that food down, if you can do that while you're eating. And then avoid eating while stressed. I think this is an easy one to say. It's harder to do. So our gut perceives what our mind is thinking and feeling. So if we're feeling really stressed, then we're activating our SNS, our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight, right? And when we activate that, our body thinks, I think it's kind of cheesy to use caveman terms, but it's just a good way to visualize it. Like think of if you're getting attacked by a bear or something, and that SNS is activated, your body is going into fight or flight, which means it's ready to do just that. So it's not going to prioritize digestion. It's going to shut that down, and so that you can respond to whatever the threat is. So if you're worried about, you're going over something that's really stressful in your mind or whatever, our body doesn't know that it's not a bear. It just knows stress. And so it's going to slow down our digestion, which is going to cause, just what we talked about above, like undigested food to be there. It's going to cause bloating, and just gas in that sense. So a lot of our bloating, gas, digestive distress can be tied back to what we're thinking and feeling, what our mind is doing. So to do better at activating our parasympathetic nervous system, which is, let's see, I think that we used a term for it: rest, digest, feed, and breed, I think. Anyways, when we're calm, our food can digest a lot better. So that's what the parasympathetic nervous system does. It puts our body in a state of calm. And so we're not tense from stress. So things you can do to put your body in that calm state are to take a few deep, slow breaths before you eat, during and after your meals, like that nasal breathing that we did. I mean, alternate nasal breathing doesn't need to happen, but even just like breathing through your nose, filling up your whole body with air, and like a really slow exhale and relaxing, focusing on relaxing your body, softening your body every time you exhale, just 4 breaths. Maybe take a couple in the middle of your meal and then after. And then also eating without distraction. So think about how your food tastes and smells. We had like an exercise to do. Oh, sorry. Oh, I see another. Or just breathing. Yeah. Yes. Especially if you can't breathe through your nose, then just any kind of breathing, or you can visualize breathing through your nose. But we had an exercise that we were supposed to do, which I actually haven't done it yet. I did like 5 minutes of it, but eat an orange and take an hour to do so. So it's basically like a form of meditation. But even if you take 15 minutes to eat an orange and like peel it, look at the orange while you're peeling the orange. Think about how the orange smells. Take one piece, like think about how it feels in your mouth. All of those things are going to be really good for activating your parasympathetic nervous system, calming your body down. But even in just your meals, like that's not realistic for all of us as we eat our meals. We have really busy days. But if we can just try to have that frame of mind when we're eating and not be on our phones. I'm the worst at this, like answering emails, responding to you guys. It's like my time to sit down and do that. And so it's a good reminder for me too. But put our phone away, don't watch TV, sit down, like Henrietta does, light a candle if you want to. Make your meals peaceful, and that's going to allow your body to digest your food and feel calm. When we're calm, then our body can digest. So eating without distractions, meal timing. So if you are one to have bloating and gas, and you're doing a lot of snacking throughout the day, then try eliminating your snacks and eating every 3 to 4 hours instead of like every 2 hours. Because when our digestive system isn't functioning optimally, food tends to break down slower in our stomach than we would like we just talked about. And so when you eat too soon after your meal, then you're going to put fresh, undigested food on top of old, partially digested food, which can lead to additional gas and bloating. And you can just, you can visualize that. And I feel like that's pretty easy to understand on that sense. So space out your meals. If you like can't eat between, if you have to go from 12 p.m. till 7 p.m. to eat, that's a pretty, like 7 hours is pretty long. Then I would definitely have a small snack in between, but ideally eating every 3 to 4 hours. And now I'm like, I'm looking at my notes, so I don't always see the chat. Don't eat when stressed, breathe through nose, Yes, mouth breathing is just fine. Take a few deep breaths. Yes, eating outside is so great. If you can get out in nature at any time, you can just feel that activating your parasympathetic nervous system, right? That's why walking is so beneficial for that. But if you can eat outside, then I think that's the best environment, unless you're scared of bugs or something, then maybe that could set off someone's Beth, maybe don't eat outside. Okay. So avoiding liquids around your meals. This is kind of and a lot of these tips too, like if you don't have issues with bloating, if you feel like your digestion is really good, then don't feel like, oh no, I need to start adding all these things in. For those of you that feel like, man, I have like an upset stomach, I don't feel great, or I have bloating and gas, then start trying these things. And you don't need to try all of them, like add in one at a time. Don't feel overwhelmed. These are just ideas and tips. So avoiding liquids around your meals, like 30 to 60 minutes before and after your meals, because if you do have issues with bloating, liquids are going to dilute our digestive enzymes and hydrochloride, so our stomach acid. So that will be diluted, and both of those are responsible for digesting our food. If you do want to drink something during your meal, this is definitely one of those things that I think is an acquired taste. You can have a small cup of hot ginger tea. That's going to be really good for digestion. Drinking ginger tea throughout the day is going to be really great too. It's also a really good activity to just activate your parasympathetic nervous system too. Making tea, it's a ritual kind of thing, and it's soothing in that way too. Another idea is to start the day with a smoothie. So starting liquids before lunch, start the day with something that's easy to digest. Your body has been fasting throughout the night. So instead of adding in a bunch of like hard to digest foods first thing in the morning, start the day with something that's going to be more gentle on your system. A smoothie is also a really good way to add in lots of fiber, nutrients, protein. Francie's, I feel like she needs to send us all her smoothie recipe ideas, but she always has the best sounding smoothies. And let me add Emily here. So adding things like fresh or frozen fruit, protein powder, a fat source, so chia seeds, hemp hearts, coconut milk, you can get a lot of fiber and nutrients in with your breakfast. And also for those of you that are reverse dieting that can't eat more food, smoothies are a great way to add in more calories too, or you can keep them low calorie as well, just whatever, you know, you need there. And then ditching potential irritant foods. And I would say kind of as I'll send these notes out too, probably tomorrow when I send the link for the call. So you guys can refer back to this, but we're kind of going in like easiest to like the first thing I mentioned is probably the first thing to try. Then the second thing, second, down to ditching potential irritant foods, because food elimination is not an easy thing to do. So it's definitely not the first thing I would recommend that you do, but it's just good to note that all of us are different, and all of us, you know, and if we're in a period of time where we have acute stress, our body's going to be affected. And so we may benefit from eliminating some foods that are common irritants, knowing that it doesn't always have to mean forever. Like these foods might irritate you right now, and you don't really know unless you try eliminating them. There are food allergy tests or food, you know, sensitivity tests. They're just, the accuracy is kind of like all over the place on them. So I think self experimenting is a really great way to know if a food bothers you. Grains, dairy, nuts, seeds, eggs, soy. Those are kind of the big common irritants that are can be potential issues for people. You can try cutting out any of these for a period of time, or all at once if you're really brave, to see if you notice a difference. If you cut them all out at once, that can be challenging if you are tracking your food. It's just a lot if you're eliminating lots of different food groups, and then you're also trying to hit protein and fiber and calorie intake. That can be overwhelming for people. So I think, you know, maybe seeing like, gosh, I feel like I seem to be really bloated whenever I have dairy. Like, I'm going to try that first. You know, maybe choosing one or two to begin with, and cut those out probably for 4 weeks at least. And then reintroduce, add it back in and see if your symptoms come back. And that's a good way to know what foods are causing bloating and issues. And then another thing, you know, avoiding raw vegetables. So this is something, vegetables are really good for us, but they're hard to digest. So if some of us, you know, might do great digesting veggies raw and others may not. So especially cruciferous vegetables like broccoli is one that can be really hard for people to digest raw. So try cooking your vegetables fully. That's going to break down like the fiber structure. And that's also, it's just going to make it a lot easier when they're broken down for your body to digest them. And once your digestive health is thriving again, then, you know, reintroduce them and see if your body can handle them. Kind of the same thing. It's not like a forever thing, but you may just need to be extra careful if your digestive system is stressed out. Yeah, alcohol and sugar too, for sure, can cause some bloating and just inflammation really for people, which can affect our digestive system. And then nuts are another one. So just like raw vegetables, nuts can be really challenging for our guts to break down because they contain nutrients that are protecting them, which makes it harder for our bodies to break down and absorb them. And then also, if you're eating nut butters, like 2 tablespoons of nut butter, which is only 1 serving, or like 2 handfuls of nuts, is going to be over 24 grams of fat potentially in 1 serving. So fat's not bad. Fat's really good for us, but that much fat in 1 sitting can cause digestive issues for people. So I would say if you are eating nuts or nut butters, or you notice that you are eating a lot of fat in 1 sitting, like in your meals, when you're logging your food, maybe you'll notice like, oh, wow, I'm over 30 grams of fat at dinner every night. And I always have like digestive issues after dinner. You know, maybe cut down your fat intake, spread it out more throughout the day, and see if that helps, because that, you know, can cause our stomachs to be upset for some people. That much fat is just harder to digest. And making sure I don't miss anything here. And then also just on nuts, like you can try avoiding those for a few weeks and then adding them back in and see if that will allow your digestive system time to like re-strengthen stomach acid and enzymatic capacity, then go back to eating them. Nightly fast. So most of us don't eat in the middle of the night, but if you do, that can, you know, affect your digestive system as well. At least 12 hours of fasting is going to allow your body to actually rest, your digestive system to actually rest and recover. And then as far as like troubleshooting goes, keep notes of the foods that you are making, like that you eat, that are leaving you feeling gassy, distended, tired, or having discomfort, and start to see if that is becoming a trend for you. And then those are probably foods that you should consider avoiding. Just making sure no one's messaging. And then if you followed all of those tips and you're still experiencing bloating or your bowel movements are off, then it would probably be beneficial to get some testing done. You can go, get referred to a GI specialist, do a GI map, and like see if you have any yeast or bacterial overgrowth. If you've been, out of the country recently, like that, that could definitely cause some things. If you've been on an antibiotic recently, that can cause a bacterial overgrowth as well. So there's different things that can cause issues that aren't going to be solved with diet lifestyle, right? So if you've kind of troubleshooted all of those things and you're still having issues, then I think it would be smart to go and get just things checked out and see what's going on internally, because you might, be doing all the right things, and it's more than just something that can be addressed through your nutrition alone. And then if you guys need like help with looking for a referral or anything like that, then let us know and we can help point you in the right direction there too. Issues after the vaccine. That could definitely, and then also, vaccine, any like also things that you're like supplementations, medications, those types of things can cause issues that you might not realize too, and correlate to that. So those are good things to look at as well. Do you guys have any questions on any of that so far? What are your thoughts on probiotics? So that's a good question. There's a lot of different strains of probiotics, and if you have like a bacterial overgrowth or something, throwing a probiotic at it could make it worse. So probiotics are great, but if your digestive system is in a really bad place, then they could make things worse. If your digestion is pretty good, then I think it's generally safe to take a probiotic. But that's something that if you kind of go through the list of things and are still having issues, I would recommend getting a GI map before adding on a probiotic, probably. Also, I didn't mention digestive enzymes are a good, like, if your enzymes are low, that can be helpful too. Like taking a broad spectrum digestive enzyme with your bigger meals can help your body digest your food too. So Lisa, probiotics are great, I think, but just in some cases, they might make things worse. So just maybe double checking with your doctor too on that, if you're going to add one in, or talking to us and we can help you troubleshoot as well. Any other questions on any of that? And hopefully you guys know now, like when we're asking, how's your digestion? How are your bowel movements, all those things, kind of what we're looking for in that sense too. Yeah. And if you guys have questions that maybe you don't want to ask like in a group setting, then you can just shoot us a message too. And we're happy to go over those. It's definitely not a TMI topic, because what's going on in our gut can affect how we feel. It can affect our progress. If we're not going to the bathroom daily, we can have excess estrogen, which can cause issues in other ways. So just keeping things optimal from a digestion standpoint is going to be really beneficial for optimal, how we feel, energy levels, and within reaching our goals too. So we're here to help and talk about all things poop with you guys. Okay, well, thanks for joining. I also have a digestive questionnaire that if you guys feel like, man, I'm having issues, I don't really know what they are, let us know and we can send that to you. And that will kind of help us narrow it down, like what system is maybe potentially where we should look into first. And we can give you ideas in that sense as well. Okay, well, I don't see any more questions, so we'll jump off here. Let us know what you guys want to discuss for next week's call. Let's see, the 12th. And then on the 19th, we're not going to do our call. It's going to be on the 20th at 1:30 Mountain Standard Time. And that's going to be with Lindy, who is the mental health therapist. She's going to be going through shame cycles with us, which I'm really excited about. So I'll probably ask you guys maybe in the thread if you guys have any questions ahead of time on that, kind of talking through more what we're going to be discussing on that call, and then we can I'll let her know not to drink before and after meals. Yeah, 30 to 60 minutes. If you feel like that could be contributing. I think if you're one that like chugs water while you're eating, then I would try to not have any 30 to 60 minutes before and after and see if that helps. Yeah, I know. I'm the same way because it's like the time you sit down and remember that you need to drink. So try that and see if it helps so it doesn't dilute your enzymes and stomach acid down. Okay, I will send out these notes for you guys. You can refer back to them tomorrow and as well as the recording because it usually takes a while for me to get it and upload it. So it'll be on the drive by tomorrow though. Thanks for joining. Okay, have a good one.